The Three Spinners. Once upon a time, in a cozy little cottage, lived a girl named Alara who was very, very lazy. She disliked chores, but most of all, she hated to spin. Her mother would beg and plead, "Alara, please, just one bobbin of thread." But Alara would just shake her head and sigh. One day, her mother's patience ran out completely, and she began to scold the girl loudly. Alara began to wail, not from sadness, but from frustration. Her cries were so loud they echoed out the window and down the lane, just as the queen's royal carriage was passing by. "Stop the carriage," commanded the queen. She stepped out and followed the sound to the little cottage. She knocked on the door. "Why is there such a commotion in this house?" she asked Alara's mother. The mother was too ashamed to admit her daughter was lazy. A wild idea popped into her head. "Oh, Your Majesty," she said with a flourish, "I cannot make her stop. She adores spinning so much, she would spin all day and night, but I am too poor to buy her enough flax." "Is that so?" said the queen, her eyes sparkling with an idea. "I love nothing more than the hum of a spinning wheel. In my castle, I have 3 rooms filled to the brim with the finest flax. Bring your daughter to me. If she can spin it all," the queen continued, "she shall have my son, the prince, for her husband." The mother's heart leaped with joy. Alara's heart, however, sank with pure terror. Without another word, the queen led a trembling Alara to the grand castle. The journey felt like a terrible dream. The castle loomed larger and larger, a beautiful prison waiting for her. The queen took her to the first room. It was enormous, and flax was piled so high it tickled the ceiling. "This is the first room," the queen said simply. Alara felt dizzy just looking at it. Then she was led to the second room. It was even bigger than the first, and just as full of flax. Alara's knees began to tremble. How could one person ever spin so much? Finally, they came to the third room. It was the largest of all. "Spin all of this," the queen commanded, "and you shall be a princess. When it is done, I will return." And with that, she left, the heavy door clicking shut behind her. Alara was alone. She looked at the mountains of flax and the silent spinning wheel. She didn't even try to start. Instead, she sat down on a pile of soft flax and began to cry. She cried for one whole day, and then a second, and then a third. She knew she could never spin all the flax, not even if she lived to be 100 years old. Her tears soaked the flax beneath her. On the evening of the third day, as she was sobbing, a woman suddenly appeared in the room. She was a strange-looking woman with a very large, flat foot. "Why are you weeping so, my dear?" she asked in a kind voice. Before Alara could answer, a second woman appeared. This one had a thumb so big and swollen it looked like a small plum. She too looked at Alara with pity. And then a third woman shimmered into view. Her bottom lip was so long and droopy that it hung down over her chin. "Tell us your troubles," she said, her voice a gentle hum. Alara, seeing their kind faces, told them everything. "We can help you," they said in unison. "But you must promise us something. Invite us to your wedding. Sit us at your high table. Call us your aunts, and do not be ashamed of us." "Oh, I promise anything," cried Alara. At once, the 3 women set to work. The first, Treda, sat at the wheel and worked the treadle with her large flat foot. Whir, whir, whir went the wheel, faster than Alara had ever seen. The second woman, Twyla, took the flax and twisted it into thread with her giant thumb. Twist, twist, twist. A perfect, even thread flowed from her fingers as if by magic. The third woman, Liana, took the thread and licked it with her droopy lip to make it smooth and strong. Lick, lick, lick. The bobbins filled with thread at an incredible speed. They worked without stopping. Whenever the queen peeked in, she saw Alara sitting quietly, while the room miraculously emptied and piles of perfectly spun thread grew. In just a few days, all 3 rooms were done. "Do not forget your promise," the women said, and vanished. The queen was overjoyed and told her son, Prince Alistair. A grand wedding was planned. Ilara was dressed in the finest silks and jewels. She was to be a princess. She was happy, but a small worry about her promise tickled the back of her mind. At the wedding feast, as music played and guests laughed, the great castle doors swung open. In walked her 3 strange helpers. Ilara kept her promise and seated them at the high table. "My dearest," said the prince, "who are these relatives of yours?" "Aunt," the prince said to Twyla, "forgive me for asking, but why is your thumb so large?" "From twisting, your highness," she said proudly, "from twisting the thread." He then asked Lyanna about her lip. "From licking," she chirped, "from licking the thread." Prince Alistair's eyes grew wide. He turned to his beautiful new wife. "My love," he declared for all to hear, "if that is what comes from spinning, then you shall never, ever touch a spinning wheel again." And so, Ilara, the lazy girl, was freed from her most hated chore forever and lived happily ever after.